Hi guys, just another little video on Sprites Part 2. I'm going to be running through the demo 5, and this one's a little different, so I'm using 2 frames. So there's 2 bitmap images, frame 1 and frame 2, or frame 0 and frame 1 should I say. I think first, if I just show you, it's going to be a bit different this time. I'm going to go through all 3 of the Sprite demos that I've got left, because there's not much difference. It was just my progression through the code as I managed to get 1 sprite on the screen, and then I managed to do the 2 frames, and then I upped it to having movement with the cursors, and I think in 7 I put it all together. I managed to get the frames switching depending on which direction you go and everything. But so this one, number 5 and 6, I think especially 5, it gets a bit janky because I'm doing a few things wrong, but by 7 I'll put those right, and I can hopefully explain this a little better down here as well. So let's get started. Where to start? So this is just the same as before from the last video. The memory bank location, the array for the 16 by 16 by red, green, blue and alpha pixels for that. I think we can say that that is that now. They're just the X and Y of the vars for the sprite position. So I've picked the centre of the screen in pixels -8 pixels, because obviously the 16 by 16, just to get it bang in the middle. Then we load the bitmaps into memory, same as before, but obviously before we was just doing 1, so we only had this 0 there. So things will make a little bit more sense now. I've also got the docs over here, so we can see 23, 27, 0 right the way through to 26 here. Yeah, so we load the bitmaps in exactly like before. It's an OS command line interface command, so it loads the file path and name. Then we've got the memory bank plus the graphics. Then we VDU23270 N. N is going to be the sprite number, or the frame number, sorry. So 0 on the first one, and then when we load in the second bitmap, that's going to address it as 1. That just gets that in. And then obviously 2327.1 is giving it the width and the height in pixels. So it'll be obviously 16 as 16 will come down in from the calls down into there. As you see here, VDU23, this is the same as what's on the Console 8 website, by the way, on their documentation. So VDU23270 N is select which bitmap. So we're giving it an ID, I think. We've given it the ID here, 0. So we're going to load this bitmap into position 0. Yeah, there. So we're selecting that sprite, that bitmap, sorry. We're loading the bitmap in, we're selecting the bitmap number, 0, and then 1 we're telling it that it's 16 by 16 pixels, and then we just go through this loop again, like before. I'm a little bit clearer on this, if not this bottom line here, but I'll run through that when we get to demo 7. And that's it really. So on this one, I'm just going to run it for you. Exactly the same again, I keep it in B. It's named the same as whatever it is on GitHub, so. And there it is. You can move it and it swaps the pixels the frames, it swaps the frames, sorry. So as we press the right cursor key here, if A equals 21, that's right cursor, then X, the integer of X equals the integer of X plus 1. So it just moves across the screen 1 pixel each press. Then what we've got here is this VDU2327 is calling for the next frame. So then that's going to load in frame 1. So obviously frame 0, frame 1, frame 0, frame 1, frame 0, frame 1. And we can get a bit of an animation going off with that. The problem with it, it works like this, but the minute you start having to assign different frames for different directions, it doesn't work very well. So I think I show that on the next one, which is demo 06. So same again, all of the start. I'm just clearing all the sprite data with a VDU 232716. So if we go to that 16, it's reset bitmaps and sprites and clear all data. So at the start of the program, I'm just clearing everything. Now this, I had a funky idea of manually swapping the frames. I thought you had to manually swap the frames. So this is frame count number equals 1. That's just a variable. I've just assigned 1 to it to start with. Obviously X and Y is the same again. This time we've got right and left frames. So the same again. The numbering of the frame starts at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're loading those in turn. So yeah, that's going to select this sprite with that numbering. Do that. So how this works is this is an integer, and the question mark is a query. So R is going to equal whatever's in this memory location. So it's the graphics plus I, so obviously that's going to count up, times 3. I think the -1 is to get rid of the line ending. I think it's either that or to get rid of the alpha channel, but I think it's the line ending. And then they go through the red, the green and the blue data, and then to get the alpha here, it's still a bit of voodoo to me, but they're using the variable from here somehow. And then this one I have no idea, because VDU, we normally have a VDU code like VDU 2327 and then the parameters. Here this just VDU these, so no idea, but it does mess with the alpha channel on the sprites that you make in the sprite editor, so just be wary of that. If you used black as a background or an outline, if you see my sprites I've made, I've got a dark grey as the outline. If I swap that to black, this code here converts that to alpha, and it just it gets rid of the black, because I think it thinks it's part of the background of the image. So yeah, I've got a bit of work to do on this, but it does what I want it to do. It just gets a sprite up on the screen. So let's just work through it a bit better then. After we've loaded the bitmaps into memory, then we're calling for mode 8. We're setting the background colour to grey, light grey, so we can see everything. Clearing the screen, disabling the cursor, and then we're setting up the sprite. Exactly the same as before, but I'll go through this a bit clearer now. So VDU 2327.4, let's find that. 4, it just selects the sprite. So for the player to move right, proc setup sprite 1. I'm going to use sprite 1 for moving right and sprite 2 for moving left, basically. So to set up sprite 1, we're using the first sprite, which is 0, clearing the frames. Then we're assigning bitmap 0 and bitmap 1 as the frame, so frame 1 and then frame 2 from these 0, 1. Because you can see in the left sprite, these are two separate sprites now. Then we've got frames 2 and 3, or bitmaps 2 and 3 as frames 1 and 2. Yeah, so bitmap 2 and 3 as frames 1 and 2. Then we have activate the sprite number. So this is the sprite 1, so we're activating sprite 1. And then we're updating the sprite in the GPU, which is 15 if you look in here. Updates the sprite in GPU. So they're setting the sprites up, and that's doing that as the program loads. So it's loading the bitmaps into memory, then it's setting up the sprites, and then here's the game loop. So as soon as it gets down to line 1300 here, it's going back up to 1000. So it'll just keep cycling this. So this bit of code here is just literally, it swaps FCN. Whatever it is, it swaps it to the opposite one. So in other words, it flip-flops between the frames. It was the only way I could think of doing it at the time. So then we're waiting for an input key. If the input key is right arrow, left cursor, up cursor and down cursor, all we're doing is we're getting the coordinates, which is obviously the starting coordinates, wherever we had those. Don't think I've got them on here. Oh yeah, here. So x152 plus 2. So the next one will be 154. And then when proc move sprite, I'm not sure if this was, yeah, here I did it, whereas it was just swapping the frames because I was using the same sprite. Here we've got two separate sprites, so this moves the sprite. So then if we go down to move sprite, here we go. So VDU 23, 27, 12. Let's have a look what that is. 12. Hide the current sprite. So the wording on this is a bit weird because I've actually worded it here quite well. So I'm hiding sprite 2 there. So if we're moving right, say, and then we press left, it's going to call this function. So this hide sprite will be hiding the previous sprite, although it's sort of saying hiding the current sprite. So the current sprite will be the one that we're at the minute, and then we change to the new sprite here. So it clears the image off the screen first of all. Then we select the sprite number. Sprite number 0 is the first sprite, and then we show the current sprite, and then this was my mess of a code really. If it's 1, show the VDU 8, which is select next frame. If it's a 2, select previous frame. So I was just flip-flopping backwards and forwards between frames there to get the animation. Then we move the sprite to the new location, and then we update it in the GPU. And that's it. The same for the sprite 2. So with that, let me just show you that. If we exit out of that one, and I just... Oh, we haven't got a cursor on the screen. Okay. Can't do it blind. Let me just reload. So if I CD to B and load, what do we want? Demo 06 sprites. Is that sprites 3? Demo 06 sprites 3. Sprites 3 dot bash. And then we run that. So you see him up the top here. I don't know why he starts at the top. That's an error in the code. But here he is in his starting position. And as you can see, it sort of works. He turns around, We haven't got any up and down, it's just the same. I think I have actually used in the code, I think I do set up and down, it just, yeah, sprites 1 and 2 again, so I'm just reusing the same sprites. But we're sort of getting some form of movement and animated sprite. It does glitch out every now and again, and every press, I don't know if you can hear me pressing the keys, it doesn't do an animation, so it doesn't swap the frames every press. So that's when we move into demo 7, which is basically all the same. I've added an extra 2 frames which are up and down, so I've got up and down 1 and 2 now. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 now. All this is the same. We do the same thing, we set the sprite up. Yeah, adding to all the coordinates and then just moving the sprite. Obviously this code just keeps it within the bounds of the screen on mode 8 at 320 to 240. It's that minus the 16 pixels. And so the difference is here is I've got everything finalised. Still unsure on this. And I've got up and down as well. Don't think there's any difference in the code. Yeah. So we'll load that one and show you that. So if I just do, oh, we're not going to have a cursor again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try there. No, that's dot. So there we're on the 3, so we can say 4. They're on SETIRPS. Is that 6? No, that's the underscore. So go one more, and we go 7. Geez, there would have been an easier way to do that, wouldn't there? Just type it out. So we've loaded that. Run. So this is the finished sprite demo. Seems to work every key press. It changes the frames. We have right, left. Now we've got an up and a down. So obviously this is a way in BBC Basic how to get a sprite as a character or a player for like a platform game or something. So going up and down ladders and going right across the screen and left across the screen. And that's it really. Obviously use these docs down the bottom. This is the full VDU docs. Down the bottom there's a whole section just for bitmaps and sprites. VDU 27, 23, 27. I know there's some new implementations of certain features going into that as we speak, so things might change a bit, but this is a way of doing what I was trying to do for weeks. Hope it's helped somebody. Enjoy.